You open your exam paper and you see that one question that you hate from your very core. No matter how many times you've seen this question, you always get it wrong. You just can't remember how to do it. And it feels like the topics that you studied for, the topics that you're good at, they don't come out in the exam. The reason you're in this mess comes down to how effective you are when you're doing practice questions. So in this video, I'm going to share step by step the system that I use to never repeat the same mistake ever again. And honestly, this is a massive thing for me because if you're able to not repeat the same mistake again, that means you're learning very rapidly. So if you use this system over and over again, I can guarantee you that exams will become easy for you. And I'm also going to reveal the one mistake that students make that absolutely kills their exam score. But before we get into the step-by-step guide, I want to talk about the mindset shift that you must have first. This is how most people approach doing practice questions. They go online, they open up a past paper, they try to do questions one by one and pretend that it's a real exam. And once they're finished doing all the questions, then they open up the answer key and quickly compare their answers, try to remember the wrong ones, and after a bit of time, they move on to the next practice paper. This may sound normal to you, but there's a few major problems that I see. First of all, it takes a lot of time. If you're just gonna sit there and do the questions one by one, pretending that you're in a real exam, then that is going to take a lot of time and you're going to have to start sacrificing sleep and other things just to study. And second of all, and I think this is the more important reason, if you actually want to learn new things, then instead of spending so much time doing the questions, what you should be focusing on instead is checking them, because when you're checking answers, you're reflecting and giving feedback to yourself, and that's exactly how you learn. So the mindset shift that I want you to have is to spend as much time as possible checking and reflecting your answer and reduce the time you spend doing the questions itself. So how exactly do you spend less time and effort doing the questions? This leads me to my first step. Now that you already have the mindset shift, it's time for you to do practice questions in a way that leaves you enough energy for the checking and reflecting part. The next time you're about to do a practice paper, I want you to use these following tips. First of all, bullet points. If you have questions where you have to explain something in a long paragraph, then I want you to use bullet points. Make each bullet point very short and concise instead of writing full sentences. This tip alone will already save you so much time and effort because you're going to cut down the majority of your writing. If you want to save even more time, then use keywords. So some subjects have specific keywords that they're looking for. So instead of writing whole paragraphs or sentences, you can just write that one little word that they need. This depends from subject to subject, but for science subjects, you can definitely use keywords to answer your questions. I see a lot of people doing practice questions with perfect handwriting, and honestly, it looks very tiring. So personally, when I'm doing practice questions, I would just speed through the entire paper using bullet points, keywords, and messy handwriting. No one's gonna see your work anyway, so you might as well just get through it with bad handwriting. And lastly, if you're more than 80% confident that you can do a question, then I want you to completely skip it. It doesn't matter what subject it is, I want you to completely skip it. So this way, you're saving time and you're focusing on the questions that you really cannot do. So these tips will help you get through your paper very quickly, and it will also leave you enough energy for the next step. This is the step that most people fumble. When you come across a wrong answer, what a lot of people do is they think to themselves, oh, this is just a silly mistake. I'm sure I'll get it right next time. Or if you're looking at the correct answer, you might say to yourself, I heard my teacher say this word before. I'm pretty sure I know what it means. I'll remember it and get it correct next time. If you say these things to yourself, then I can pretty much guarantee you that within an hour, you will already forget the mistake that you've made. So how do you prevent this? How do you actually remember the answers that you got wrong? These are the prompts that I like to ask myself every time I see a wrong question. These prompts sort of help me think back in time and identify the logic that I use so that I can spot the weakness and get rid of it. This will help you get a much deeper reflection and you'll have a solid understanding of why you got it wrong. But if you want to take it to the next level and not repeat the same mistake again, then let's move on to the next step. This is pretty simple. After you finish reflecting all your wrong answers, I want you to list down your weakest topics. Just look at the answers that you got wrong and sort of rank them on a scale of difficulty. I want you to pick 2 or 3 of the most challenging topics or chapters and list them down. And then you move on to step 4. YouTube videos and topic questions are all you need to master a chapter. It is much faster and easier than you think. If you're starting from zero and you have absolutely no idea what the chapter is about, then watch a few YouTube videos. YouTube videos are engaging and they're a very quick way to learn something new. Once you have a rough understanding of the chapter, then go online and search for specific topic questions. The reason why you're struggling with this topic is most likely because you've missed some of the fundamentals. And when you do practice questions specifically on that topic, it will help you identify the fundamentals that you've missed very quickly. It is much faster than you think, and I always overestimate how tough it's gonna be. This is a common mistake that a lot of students make as well. So once they finish doing a practice paper for the entire subject, they quickly check their answers and they move on to the next practice paper. I don't think this is a very effective way of doing it because you're not zooming in and focusing on your weakest chapters. So if you're able to do a practice question, list down your weakest chapters and then move on to them individually using YouTube videos and topic questions, then that would be fantastic. You are setting priorities and you're putting your full focus and effort on chapters that need them. Just doing all of these things will already help you massively. But if you want to take it to the next level, then I have a little exercise that I like to do that helps me remember what I actually learned. This is the forgetting curve. The forgetting curve says that we will forget new information very quickly unless we keep exposing ourselves to it. This is the little exercise that I like to do to beat the forgetting curve. So at random times of the day, maybe I'm exercising or showering or whatever, I would try to think of the questions that I got wrong earlier. You would be very surprised at how much you forget in a very short amount of time. Because when you do this exercise, it's going to require a lot of brain power to remember what you got wrong. And this is good. This means that you're using your brain to retrieve the information. This means that you're going to take longer to forget it now. So try to do this exercise at random times of the day and it will massively help you remember more. Before I do another set of practice questions, I will look at the list of my weakest topics that I previously had and I would look at my previous wrong answers. I would think to myself, I am now confident in these topics. I already know how to do these types of questions. I would mentally walk through all the work that I did to fix my weakest chapters, all the new things that I've learned, and I would make sure that if I see these types of questions again, I will 100% get it correct. This helps me wrap everything up and focus before I do the next set of class paper. When you're going through your answers, instead of checking and reflecting only on the questions that you get wrong, what I like to do is to reflect on the questions that I got correct too. Sometimes, even though you got the answer correct, there may be a better way of solving the question. So make sure you check the answer key or check YouTube videos even for questions that you get correct. Every time I get a question wrong, I like to keep my incorrect working somewhere safe. So before my exam, I can look at this list of questions that I once got wrong and sort of mentally walk through how to do them correctly. So this way, I'm reminding myself of the issues that I once had so that I don't repeat the same mistake again in the exam room.